trying to explore positive ideas, you know what I mean? Positive examples of what it is to be a black man in this country, you know what I mean? And not just a black man, just somebody from a working class environment, the average man. Elusive, they call me.
You're more elusive than I am, bro.
No, fam, I'm not elusive. You know what it is, fam, yeah? Like, it's not even like that man's trying to be elusive or nothing like that. It's just a case of, I've never been that guy to come and do interviews and thing when man ain't got nothing to talk, you know what I mean? Like, I want to have a project. You see? Well,
see, in saying that, like I said, you talking about you want to have a project. We gotta go back to the last project, because like, to me, it's a timeless piece of work.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That's my thing.
I appreciate that.
I've been singing on Twitter the songs that
I see that. Man's been tweeting along, bro.
I just wait to your parents to say, you know what, I'm actually having a musical aspiration.
Woo!
How does that go?
It wasn't terribly difficult to have that conversation. My dad plays the saxophone and he's a pianist as well. So he always had those kind of musical aspirations himself. You know, and obviously coming from a Nigerian background and being born in Nigeria as my dad was, like, it wasn't always seen as something that, you know, is lucrative at any stage, you know. My dad grew up listening to people like Fela, you know what I mean, like, you know, and really like held that kind of rebellious kind of attitude, you know what I mean, in his earlier days. And in a certain extent, he kind of passed that down to me. So when I told my parents that I wanted to pursue this whole hip hop thing, and you have to understand that, you know, in the Nigerian household, hip hop in itself is considered really, like, you know, probably one of the worst like directions in which a child can go, you know what I mean, and you know, with all of the connotations that are attached to it. With the people that I was kind of rolling with at the time, I think my parents got a bit scared, so there were comments, you know what I mean, but at the same time, like, they could see that, you know, it was something that I was productive in doing. You know, I'd be up all hours of the night making music and writing lyrics and, you know, keeping them up at night, and they could see that at least I was doing something. I wasn't out and about, you know what I mean, doing all kinds of madness like some of my cousins were or whatever else, you know what I mean. So I think just the fact that I was doing something made them want me to like pursue it. They were a bit scared, but at some point you have to trust your child, you know what I mean. They brought me up in the right ways, in the African ways in which they held there, and at some point you need to trust your child and the amount of investment that you've made in someone, you know.
Let's talk about the industry that you're looking at breaking through in. What blocks have you faced?
Industry-wise, I don't like.
If any, if there's anything that you feel like.
I just think that things are not set up for people to kind of do well. You know what I mean? Like, I think one of the things that for me as an artist that I've always tried to do is make sure that whatever it is that I'm producing, or you know, in terms of a product, it kind of matches up to some of the mainstream artists. You know what I mean? In terms of like what I can put in front of somebody. If I put I don't know, anybody like mainstream CD on the table, and I put my one on the table, then people won't be able to tell the difference in terms of just the quality of the product. You know what I mean? And the same with the music that's being created, just trying to make sure that everything is of top quality. And that's kind of opened a lot of doors, I think, you know, for me, in terms of being accessible to people. But in terms of like obstacles, I don't know, like I don't think people are readily engaged in the industry for somebody making the kind of content of music that I'm making.
How would you describe the content of the music you're making?
Just progressive, you know what I mean, in terms of like just trying to explore positive ideas, you know what I mean, positive examples of what it is to be a black man in this country, you know what I mean, and not just a black man, just somebody from a working class environment, the average man, you know what I mean, the same struggles. I think things have got a lot better recently, you know what I mean. Somebody like Rich coming through and doing something means that, you know, an artist that's a little bit more lyrical in content, and conceptual, you know what I mean, or cerebral even, you know what I mean, like can make a lot more of an impact, you know what I mean. But I think that those doors are slowly opening. It's not like, you know, I think people for a long period of time just want that kind of snap music that people can dance to without giving any kind of thought and I don't think that that's reflective over the Atlantic, you know what I mean? You know, in the States, I don't think that's reflective. I think over there people have been a lot more susceptible to that for a longer period of time. But over here, you know, it's unheard of almost, you know what I mean, from my perspective. Obviously, growing up, you know about the Skinny Mans, the Black Mans, Kalashnikovs, whatever else, but how many of them actually made, you know, a massive commercial success in that kind of environment in the same way that Rex 32 has done it now, you know what I mean? Like, it's not really heard of. So it's difficult to kind of move up into the industry in that regard. But in terms of actually making your music and putting it out, all the avenues are open to people, you know what I mean? There's nothing that's stopping you in this day and age as well, when you've got YouTube, you know what I mean, Twitter, Facebook, whatever else, you know what I mean? People can make a record label, you know, a company, set up and put out a project. It's not difficult, you know what I mean? It's just that people don't really want to go through the hard work that's involved with that, or even just the investment that's involved with it. You know what I mean?
So explain to me your setup.
My setup. Myself, Jay the Exodus, who's launch we're at the moment, you know what I mean, and another business partner called Nee. Now we just set up a record label, effectively just to be able to release the projects that we're creating, you know what I mean. Bust Up was the first project on there, and it wasn't relatively difficult to do, you know. It took us about a year to whole set up and make sure all of the deals were in place, like, in terms of distribution and whatnot, were in place so that we can be able to get out to the people that we wanted to get it out to. But yeah, it wasn't relatively difficult to do. It's about making sure that you've got the relationships and building on that, really. Bust Up was just a first step in that, you know what I mean? From Darkness Came Light, Jay's project is involved with building on top of that, and my next project will be involved in building on that as well, you know? It's just about that.
Your project though, the follow-up.
Follow-up, wow.
What's
Train of Thought. Train of Thought. You know, Train of Thought, yeah. Like, Bust Up was never supposed to be standalone, you know what I mean? Like, if you look at the cover of Bust Up, it says Modes of Transport, the Bust Up EP. Like, it's never supposed to be standalone. It's supposed to come, you know, be followed up with something of the same kind of vein. So following on in the Modes of Transport vein, you know, Train of Thought, you know, something a little bit more in-depth, I guess, reflective of who I am and where I am at the moment. The order of things is supposed to...
Is it like a trilogy that you made?
Yeah, pretty much. You know what I mean? It's supposed to cover my progression or through music industry, you know what I mean?